I promise, even though I'm a lawyer, I'm going to be brief, okay? And I apologize for being late. I was at City Council meeting with the neighborhood associations there, because even though I'm running for District 1, I do think the city has to run holistically, and I wanted to kind of get the input from some of those neighborhood association folks. Let me tell you a little bit. I see a lot of folks here who probably do know me, but let me tell you a little bit about myself. I am a lawyer. I've been a lawyer here in El Paso since 1998. I graduated from UT Law School, and at that time I got a job working for Jose Rodriguez, back when he was at the county attorneys. At that time, I was prosecuting child abuse cases, and that's exactly what brought me to El Paso. That's what I wanted to do. That was my passion, and I thought I was going to come here for a short time and then move back to Austin. Well, here I am, 13 years later. I fell in love with El Paso, fell in love with my ex-husband at the time, and so now I'm raising 2 children here. I am a property owner. I've been running my own business as a small solo practitioner since 2002, so I understand some of the financial constraints that we have as small business owners in this town. Before that, I moved to Austin, and I had dedicated the years before I went to law school to environmental issues, I'll be honest. I spent 2 years working for an organization called the National Environmental Law Center. It was one of Ralph Nader's groups, and the idea was that we would sue companies and make companies clean up after themselves. It was an offshoot of PIRG, which was the Public Interest Research Group, which I'm sure more folks are familiar with. So I did that for 2 years, worked at Whole Foods part-time because trying to make ends meet, and then I realized I wanted to go to law school because that was the way I was going to make a difference. In law school, that's when I discovered I really was passionate about children's advocacy issues. I am committed to the open spaces. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I do not waver on that position. I believe in responsible growth because I am a business owner. And as such, I believe that the way to make El Paso a better place is to bring in businesses who can provide jobs. I don't think that ever has to be to the detriment of the environment. There are other towns, when I was in Austin, that has managed to maintain a healthy economy, but at the same time, a beautiful, beautiful green space. And that's what attracts people. As I'm sure many of you know, I am a committed civil rights individual. My most recent endeavor, I'm sure everyone knows, has been through El Paso for Equality. And the reason I became involved was one day my daughter said to me, well, why are all these people out there saying that they don't have the same rights that you have? She says, that's just stupid. My daughter's 7, just so I can preface that. She goes, that's stupid. And I sat there and I realized this isn't the El Paso I want my children to grow up in. The El Paso that I want is one where we're not judged by our color, our sexuality, our choices in life. I think that the government needs to be staying out of those issues personally, and I don't think that us as taxpayers should now be spending over $150,000 to defend a suit because of a very poorly worded ordinance. So for the record, I'm not gay. I know that that's the big rumor out there, but I do believe that you don't have to only stand up for issues that personally affect you. If there's not justice for one part of our society, there's not justice for all. And that's what I truly believe. I am fiscally conservative in respect that I like to keep the government out of my business. I don't like the government overspending. And so in that respect, I think that there's a lot that could be cut in the City Council, and you can contact me directly and we can kind of talk about that in more detail. One of the things I think that's currently lacking with our city representative is accessibility. The biggest complaint that I have heard is she's not listening to her constituents, that she's looking out for a very personal and singular agenda of her own. I also don't think she's in touch with the soul of my district. I don't think she understands our needs right now. And so that's why I ran, and literally it was a decision made from one day to the next. And I wasn't going to sit by and let someone else complain. I'm not that kind of person. I'm not the kind of person who sits and complains about things without doing something about it. And so that's why I'm running to be your city representative for District 1. I hope that was short enough. Yes, sir.
I have one question.
Yes, sir.
I tried to contact you before on the phone, but you couldn't sort of busy. So I'd like to know if I could contact you or ask you some questions about that.
Absolutely. I have a very simple website. It's LydaNessGarcia.com. I'm also on Facebook under Lyda Ness Garcia, running for City Representative District 1, and my email is lydanessgarcia@gmail.com. I have my personal business cards I can give to anyone who wants to talk to me, not to plug it, we're having a kickoff Wednesday, 5:30 at G2 on Cincinnati. And so 5:30 to 8 o'clock, come out. It's not so that you have to give me money, although of course that's always nice, but it's so that you can meet me personally and talk to me and get to know who I am. So you're welcome to come there, but I'm happy to meet with you at any time and talk to you personally.
Well, I wish I could make it that particular day, but unfortunately my sister's having her week on that particular day, Wednesday.
Okay, I'm happy to meet with you at your leisure, sir.
Jaime, you have a question?
Yes, it's basically two, and it's similar to what I asked earlier. Number one, I'd like to know your position on flow control, and number two, as a partisan organization, why should Democrats support you?
Okay, my first position is right now I do support the City Council's position on that. And the reason being, and I have read the legislative, there was the 2009 report that went on for pages and pages, and I'll be honest, as a lawyer, the science behind it got a little confusing for me. Right now, it has to be it has to be a pure fiscal consideration while looking at it as a means for reducing revenue for the city. I've been particularly involved with a lot of the county issues right now, and both the city and county are going bankrupt. And with forced furloughs, I don't know how we're going to maintain this any longer. So if it continues to be a sustainable source of revenue for the city, I'm all for it. With that being said, there are a few things the city should be involved in, and since it is a health issue to some extent, and because it is providing good services, I'm behind it for the time being, but I'm always receptive to looking to privatization, which is where I think we need to go with some of the monopolies like we have with the El Paso utilities, but that's a whole different conversation.
And the second part of the question?
Can you repeat?
Why should Democrats support you for your bid for City Council District 1?
Because I have a lifelong commitment to democratic and quite progressive social issues. On my website, you can see my resume. This isn't something I've created overnight just because I think it's something I can market to people. Because trust me, being progressive isn't exactly the most marketable position when you're trying to raise money for a campaign. But I am a Texas majority builder. I've voted Democrat every election, and I will say that with a caveat. I did vote for Chris Ancliffe, but that's because I know him personally as an attorney, and he is a very fine attorney. So that was the only Republican I've ever voted for. And I did get a good number of Democratic endorsements when I ran for judge back in 2007.
Anybody?
Yes, sir.
What's your point of view on the Trans Mountain corridor?
Specifically, are you asking if I'm opposed to the development right now? I just read the study, and I'm actually going to the meeting tomorrow to get a little more information from TechStock, but the study that I've reviewed, that Susie Bird has basically brought forth, indicates it's not going to make a difference. It's not going to protect the traffic flow like we want it to. I think that for any of us who go over Trans Mountain, it's a twofold thing. I don't want to ruin the landscape, and I know they say it's going to go up to the park, and they've taken all these pictures showing how it's not going to impede the environment. I don't quite buy that. It's not going to make a difference with the traffic. And second, I mean, how many of you go across Trans Mountain when the weather's bad, when the winds are bad? It's closed down all the time. There are accidents with trucks. I think 10 days ago there was a rollover. So I don't think it's a viable way of rerouting traffic. I really don't.
Does anyone else have any questions for Lyda? Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your time. And for